friends, and welcome back. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking about Misery Wallowers. And let me first say that this is a judgment-free zone. I'm here because people are at various points on their journey. This may be a particular issue that you've mastered, or maybe it was never even a part of your MO or how you showed up in life. But you may know people that are misery wallowers. And if this is in fact you, I'm going to give you a few helpful tips that will kind of help you bring it more in balance, or hopefully just overcome it altogether. So by misery wallowing, what am I referring to? I'm referring to those people that tie themselves to certain negative events in their life. For some people, it shows up in that they are tied to a particular negative event from the past. It could even be something that's fairly traumatic. Maybe the loss of a loved one, or maybe a business that failed, or some other event that was really impactful in their life. I suffer with a chronic illness, and even I can from time to time lament about the amount of time that I lost whenever I think about that particular time in my life when I was really, really suffering kind of bad with it. And thank God I am definitely on the mend thanks to a healthy lifestyle. But I lost a lot of years, and it's easy to look back and stay chained to those particular events. Your mind will just start, what if it hadn't have happened? If this, da-da-da-da, maybe I should have, blah, blah, blah. And so for some people that aren't aware of it, that aren't as evolved or kind of working on their stuff, they can have a tendency to tie themselves to these negative events, and it can really affect their lives in a very negative way. It can maybe keep them from moving forward. It can definitely cost them in their joy and their peace, and they are often filled with regret or filled with sadness to the point where it becomes a regular conversation with those around you over the loss that you experienced or what happened to you in the past. And you don't want to do that. Life is a progressive thing. We are constantly moving forward. We are in motion. We are supposed to be becoming versions of our highest and best self. And so we should constantly be moving up the ladder. And when you are a misery wallower, you keep yourself stuck. You impede your progress. And that really is not what life is about. And here's the thing about the misery wallower. They are creating their own sadness. They are creating their own drama. It's not the event. The event has happened and the person has survived it. But they keep looking back. They keep trying to walk back to it and put their arms around it and hold on to it. And so the question then becomes why? What is the payoff for looking back, for holding on to it? Could it be a situation where if you're constantly looking back, then you don't have to face the fact that there's something out there for you in the future that maybe you're afraid of? Maybe you're afraid of starting the business or getting the new relationship. So you keep holding on to what happened to you in the past. And don't underestimate the power of the mind. It can be very tricky. And so you feel like, oh, I can't move forward, or I have to do this, or this is just a part of me, and you don't understand. It affected me so negatively, which all those things are often true. But what it really is a fear of you stepping into your life fully and embracing what the future has for you and becoming the new person and doing the work that is required of you. It is easy for you to stay stuck in depression and to use this traumatic event as an excuse for why you are not moving forward. And so when you hear me say that like that, it has to be clear, or it has to kind of ring your bell a little bit, that that is not a positive state of being. That is not something that you want in your life. You want to constantly be moving forward. You want to constantly be becoming more. You want to constantly be excited about the future. You want to constantly be becoming the new person. And so just hearing me say that should kind of ring a bell a little bit. Ding, 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 ding. When I heard Tonya say that, that is a negative way of showing up in the world. And I really just don't want that. And I think sometimes misery wallowers, they just haven't come to the awareness that that is what's happening. And they don't understand that it's robbing them of their precious life, their God-given life. They have a right to be happy. They have a responsibility to become their highest and best self in this lifetime. And they just haven't come to the awareness of it. So that is what I mean by the misery wallower. You don't want to be that person. And if you are surrounded by people, or maybe you have one person in your life that is a misery wallower, here's where it gets tricky. When people are in that state, they are often blocked from rational thought around that particular issue. So I want you to know that. I want you to know that sometimes just having a conversation, girl, you need to let go of the past. Girl, that man is gone. When they're steeped in the middle of that, the mind, the psyche will oftentimes almost put up like a barrier so that the new information can't get in. So here's what I recommend in those situations. Depending upon who you are and how strong you are, you may need to just sever the tie. I mean, it is what it is. And so when you're trying to become your highest and best, it becomes difficult to maintain relationships with people that aren't doing that. You still want to hold compassion for them. But if it starts costing you your peace and sanity, and depending upon how steep they are in it, that could very well be the case. If it's costing you when you're not strong enough, you don't have the natural personality of a counselor or healer or a coach, or that you don't have the patience for it, you may just have to just put some distance between you and that person, and that's okay. Hold the compassion always, but put some distance between you and that person. Here's something else you want to consider. You want to always hold in the back of your mind that this person may not hear me. But if that person is important to you, you may feel like it is worth it to keep trying. And the reason why I say hold the awareness that they may not be able to hear you, because the psyche can sometimes put up blocks to it because it becomes almost a sacred space for this person. So we're talking about serious mental states here. They're going to hold that particular event or what happened to them with a certain amount of reverence. Rational thought oftentimes can't get through. If you hold that and you know that, you still want to keep trying. And so when I say it can't get through, it sometimes can get through, but it's the moments, right? If they're steeped in it, you're not going to get through. You just got to sit there, let them cry, let them scream, hear them out. You can try to say, have you ever considered, in a very nice, ginger way, but just know that they may find that conversation extremely triggering, right? It's like they are in a dark state. Something has hijacked their rational thought. They are operating from dysfunction and from their shadow self. So you just showing up and saying, hey, girl, you need to let that go, probably won't work, definitely in those moments. But just keep subtly chipping away at the stone. When they're laughing, when they're in a happy place, maybe try to get through to them. Maybe try to get them to see the benefit of moving forward. Maybe try to get them to see the benefit of having joy and peace in their life and what that feels like. And sometimes, for some people, with enough tenderness and enough understanding and compassion, you can break through that veil that the mind has created for them. And sometimes if you just plant enough seeds, something will come along and water those seeds, and they may look up one day and there is a parting of the veil, and then more information can get through and you can have a deeper conversation around it. So let me go back and just kind of summarize what I said right there, just to make it clearer. If you have someone that's a misery wallower over a particular event, don't try to just rush in thinking that if I had this conversation with her, she's going to be okay, or him, they're going to be okay, because that may not be the case. You're going to have to just pick and choose your battles. You're going to have to just wait for moments where you think you can get through to them in a compassionate, tender, and loving way, and you're going to have to be patient. You're going to have to understand that the work may not happen overnight, but if you care, it could be worth it for you to keep trying. And let me also add that sometimes a misery wallower is not stuck on a particular event. They're stuck on every little tiny thing. When we were kids, we had a cartoon, and they called one of the characters Bad Luck Schleprock, and wherever he went, he just had a dark, rainy cloud over him. Some misery wallowers are like that. There has been no traumatic event. It's just every little thing that happens to them, they cling to it, and they just ruminate on it, and they just, again, use it as an excuse not to engage fully and completely in their life. So it really is the same pattern. The triggers are kind of different in that one may hold to one event, and someone else may just take every little negative thing and allow that to create misery for them. But the thought process is still the same. The psyche still blocks, and it still keeps them from moving forward into their glorious future. And it is just as damaging. So that's my advice if you're dealing with people that are in this situation. And lastly, let me talk directly to the misery wallower. So I've given you some reasons as to why you may be doing this. And I've also talked about why you don't want to do it, and given a little bit of an explanation as to why you could be doing it. So let me just talk heart to heart if you are a misery wallower, and you know if it's you. You know if there's some past event that you keep talking about over and over when you should have moved on, or if you're taking every little negative thing that happens to you and creating some catastrophic situation as to why you can't step fully into your life. You know if it's you. And so here's what I'm going to say to you, just heart to heart, with as much compassion and heart as I can muster. Your life matters, and it is a precious gift from God. And what God wants for you is to step fully into your life. He has given you power. He has given you abilities. He has given you gifts. He has given you a purpose. He has given you a cause. And there are people out there that are waiting on the seed that is contained inside of you. It's time to let go. It's time to understand that your mind has created a prison for you and you are trapped. And it's time for you to break free. You are never going to know peace. You are never going to know joy. You are never going to know happiness until you find the strength to let go, until you find the strength to move on, or until you find the understanding that life is glorious and that all these negative events serve to further push you into your glory, into your bigness, into the person that you're supposed to be living as. And when you're chained to some past event, or when you are allowing small little petty negative events to become big in your life, you're losing so much. You're losing relationships. you're losing your health, and most importantly, you are losing time. You're going to look up one day and life will have passed you completely by over something that was sad and it was unfortunate, but you had the power to let go of that. So I encourage you to step fully into your life today. Be a person that is going to either let go or right-size negative events to the place where you're not letting them just drag you down and overtake you. Declare today that you want to live your life as fully and as completely as you can, and be willing to rise to it. Be willing to accept the challenges. Be willing to fully embrace all that life is. And if you do that, I can 100% guarantee you, you're going to find peace. You're going to find joy. You're going to find happiness. And most importantly, you're going to find that stepping into the new place, the thing that scares you the most, is going to feel so much better than being chained to the darkness. I hope you find that beneficial.